welcome to the Projection Booth and the Kulturecast. I'm your host, Mike White. Joining me, of course, is the host of the Kulturecast, Mr. Chris Stachiw.
You can call me Scrotus.
Also along with us is the one and only Father Malone, our brother from weirdingwaymedia.com. Father Malone, it's good to see you, sir.
Good to see you. You can call me the history man. I'll take that nom.
You don't have nearly enough tattoos, my friend.
I'm on my way. Getting there.
On this episode, we are talking about Furiosa, a Mad Max Saga. It is a 2024 Australian film. It's not really Australian film, is it?
Oh, they know it's... Oh, they fucking show you it's in Australia, bro. In the first... He's like, hey, if you had any question, it's in fucking Australia. I'm going to Google Maps your ass right in the first 5 seconds of the movie.
That's true. That's true. I was kind of hoping that would be like a universal opening. So, like, you know, like Waterworld, how the oceans take over.
Right.
Instead, you just zoom right into Australia. We're talking about the prequel to the fourth movie, so I guess this is the 3.5 movie, so somewhere between Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome and Mad Max Fury Road is Furiosa, a Mad Max Saga.
It's time for a new Wasteland! I want what you want!
A world of chaos. Remember me?
Furiosa, a Mad Max Saga. Rated R. Only in theaters May 24th.
And stars our gal Anya Taylor-Joy as Furiosa and Chris Hemsworth as Dementus. And yeah, I'm so excited to talk to you guys about this. And I should say, spoiler warning, because we're going to be ruining this film, and we'll probably talk about the endings of some of the other Mad Max films as well. So I know, Chris, you just did a whole series all about the Mad Max films, so people can check those out. Or I did one big honking episode a few years ago. You can check that out as well. And yeah, spoilers all over the place with those episodes as well, I imagine.
Yeah, we Father Malone pushed me to watch the first 3 Mad Max movies, and then we also watched Fury Road. So yeah, I am well-versed now, and in terms of immediacy, these are all watched within the last 2 weeks. I will say probably because, hey, movies are back, folks, except they're fucking not. Before we talk about spoilers, let's just go around the kind of room here and say, would Furiosa be worth checking out in theaters, or maybe wait, or do you want to just wait a month for it to be on streaming? Because at this point, everything comes out a month into streaming. I don't know why. It may have something to do with they want to make money. I don't know. So, Father Malone, worth checking out in theaters?
Yeah, I want more of these. So go pay the money and give it to the studio and let them know that we want to see more instead of just waiting around to see it on Netflix or something.
Mike White?
So sad that they already announced a Blu-ray before the movie even hit theaters. So I'm like, really? Yes, 100%. You have to see this in theaters because it is a spectacle. George Miller knows how to make spectacles. And my God, what a spectacle this movie was.
Yeah, I would agree. I saw it in theaters. I think it's worth checking out. I saw it in the same theater that I saw Fury Road in so many years ago, actually, because I still was living up here at the time. So Fury Road came out in 2015. So yeah, saw it in the same theater. Theater was a little nicer this time. The seats actually reclined, so easier to take a nap if that's a thing you're into. But I would agree, definitely check it out in theaters. Mike, you and I were talking about this before we turned on the recording. Father Malone, I will now pose to you the question, how many people were in your showing when you went and saw it, and when did you go and see it?
Early in the morning and not many. And then I saw it again at home, let's say.
let's say, eh? I also may have watched it at home as well.
I paid my money.
Yeah. You know what they say? You got my money the first time.
And I watched the shittiest copy you could ever fucking imagine, so.
Well, the ads were edited out on the version that I watched. Somebody grade those bars of the money dropping out of the sky. Oh, Slotlights.com, everybody.
Yes, the bane of my existence.
I mean, what? We don't illegally watch anything. What the fuck? You can't prove it. Prove it. You can't.
I don't know how many people were in the theater when I saw it, because I sit right in the middle, so I'm not sure how many people were behind us, but if I had to take a guess, I'd say probably like 10 altogether. I was telling Chris before we started recording that I usually order my popcorn in advance just because I like to skip the line. Well, there was no line to skip, unfortunately. I just walked right up to the concessionaire and bought my popcorn that way, and then walked into the theater, which was totally empty when we got in there. And then eventually there were a few other people that showed up.
Mike buys his popcorn through the app because he's a sophisticate.
That's right.
I eat my popcorn pinkies out. One piece at a time.
It's that meme from the Family Guy. Why do you guys think you're better than me? Yeah.
And you spray each piece of popcorn with butter too. There were 2 people in the theater when I saw it. So it's unfortunate because I think we all agree this movie is worth seeing in theaters, if not required to have seen in theaters at least once. Because when I walked out of this movie, maybe not entirely, I was like, that felt like seeing Fury Road in terms of the spectacle on display needing to be seen on a large screen, but I would go further than just a large screen with a very loud, powerful, and bassy subsystem. And Dolby Atmos definitely intensifies the experience of a movie like this. Maybe not as much as Fury Road, but I think there's a reason behind that. But I think we could start talking about spoilers now, if you guys are interested. Maybe.
Well, first, I just want to warn people because if you do go see this at theaters, you might be like me and want to drive like Furiosa across those sand dunes towards the end. Like I really wanted to rev my car and go fucking crazy. That's the danger of movies like this. But otherwise, yes, let's talk about the movie. Let's talk about the prequel and how we get introduced to Furiosa and her whole family, the Bulavani, correct? I've seen Fury Road so many times, but some of the terms elude me there.
The Volvolini, which I believe is a play on vulva. It's got to be, right? It's George Miller, so yes, it is.
I would think so, yeah.
Right. George Miller doesn't do anything unintentionally. At least I don't think.
I agree, Scrotus.
Thank you, Rictus Erectus. Rictus Erectus. The phallic imagery in these movies and the phallic names and just sexual names are the greatest. I mean, we talked about it, Father Malone, with, was it 3, where it's like all the names of the characters are in the opening of the movie? Beyond Thunderdome, they're just like, you need to know these characters' names, and they're fucking insane. So we're just going to tell you what they are. There you go.
Remember Pig Killer and Screw Loose. They are very important.
Right, exactly.
Loose. Yes.
So I think just to get the discussion rolling, speaking of Beyond Thunderdome, this movie has a lot in common with Beyond Thunderdome, maybe in a way that some people who liked Fury Road a lot might not like, which I totally get. But you know what? I was here for it. I was here for it big time. I was here for it maybe even more so than if they had just retreaded Mad Max Fury Road, which in a lot of ways, this ain't, thankfully, that.
I'm trying to figure out what you're talking about. Was it that there are little kids in this movie?
It's more the machinations of the fan reaction, but also the machinations of the Wasteland is something that seems to be gone into more detail in this movie, which reminded me a lot of Beyond the first half of Beyond Thunderdome. I think the second half of Beyond Thunderdome is its own thing entirely, but it reminded me of like, let's take a moment and kind of build out the world in a way that Beyond Thunderdome did, and in a way that this movie does. I mean, not that Fury Road doesn't, but Fury Road doesn't stop. It gives you those moments in dialogue, but Father Malone talked about this on our Fury Road episode. They seem like throwaway pieces of dialogue. They would be in other movies. In this movie, they're not, because in Fury Road, they don't have a lot of dialogue. This movie is replete with dialogue. Plenty of more. The climax of this movie is 2 characters talking to one another, which I think, again, is very different from if you went and saw Fury Road and then just saw this. You would be like, oh, different. What are we talking about here? I think that, again, I enjoyed this movie a lot, but it does have a lot in common with the Mad Max movie that some people don't necessarily jive with as much as the others.
I've spent the past 2 days restraining myself from jumping into the fray on the internet and doing battle with those who have written this movie off. I don't get it. I really think there's a certain type of person who threw a blanket over their head at age 12 in 1984 and said, this is it, nothing better. Because there were people complaining about Fury Road is not a true Mad Max movie, never mind Beyond Thunderdome. So this one, oh boy, they are frothing at the mouth over it. And it's a shame because George Miller has been consistently building a world, and each time it gets more in-depth and more interesting and more explained. You mentioned that opening shot. I gasped when we got to see that we were zooming in on Australia. And then we were zooming in on Central Australia. So, like, we're pinning it down even more. My God, he uses a lot of maps in this thing, a lot of geography in this one, more than we've ever seen before. And I know a lot of it is digital and whatever, but I don't care. I love this world. Yes, give me 2 or 3 dust storms. I just had a great time overall. Chris, you mentioned the ending. Like, I'm constantly harping on the fact that no matter how innovative a fucking action movie is, it always ends with 2 guys punching each other. And who cares? Like,
often in color-swapped suits. One's purple and one's yellow. One's yellow and one's red. I just named Ant-Man and Black Panther pretty much what they do exactly.
Yeah, and here... The other thing I've been saying on all the other reviews of all the other Mad Max movies is one thing George Miller does really consistently is defy expectations. And here he gives us a 2-character dialogue scene. There's action in it and whatever, but it ain't a fist fight. And then gives us every possible scenario at the end. Here's what, did you want this one? Did you want that one? I have many endings, and you're going to complain about all of them, but here are the possibilities. But here is actually how it went down, and how it went down is fucking beautiful and poetic, and harkens right back to the opening scene. This movie begins with young Furiosa picking that fruit off of that tree, and that's what we return to at the end. I fucking love this movie, guys.
I won't say I loved it, but I enjoyed it immensely. I mean, again, like, I've only seen it twice, so it will take a while for me to probably get to that point. I will say, though, in terms of it coming after Fury Road, which is so singularly one thing, kind of, and I'm not saying it's only one thing, but like what it's trying to accomplish is do something that very few, if any, other films have ever done, which is make a chase movie, literally a chase movie. Like, there is 2 scenes of, like, take a breath here. This movie's not engaged in that, and I think immediately it paints a target on itself by saying, oh, if you're expecting Fury Road, don't. And I appreciate that because, like you said, Father Malone, the expectation defying is all George Miller has ever really done. Again, I would like to point out to the people that are angry, this is the guy who directed and wrote Happy Feet 1 and 2, movies about goddamn dancing penguins. So if you're expecting him to just make another Fury Road, do you know what he's been doing, or do you even care? Or do you, like you said, Father Malone, just want to keep your head up your ass? Because that's what it feels like. It's like horror bros at this point. Like, why isn't Jason and Michael Myers killing people? And I was like, what the fuck? You got like 12 movies of it already. Why do you need yet another one? Can someone do something different, please? And you know what? It's the guy who created Mad Max. Let him do whatever the fuck he wants. It's his fucking franchise. He started his career with the first Mad Max movie. I mean, if you don't trust in the judgment of the creator of the series, then I don't know what to tell you. But George Miller is no George Lucas in a number of ways.
Yeah, it's fantastic that he has been making these movies for so long and in so many different ways. You know, like, you talked about how Fury Road is one long chase, and I think that those pauses are the most important part of it. But then you get that boom, that adrenaline rush when it comes to when they resume those chases. And it's very similar with the way that we have this, what is it, 4 chapters in this film? I think I'm 5 altogether. But then in each chapter, you have a pretty incredible action scene. So buckle in, folks. You're going to see some amazing shit in this. I mean, the opening chase across the plains with those motorcycles and then back again, or when they have the war rig. I mean, that's amazing. Or the attack on Gastown. I mean, just all of these set pieces, they're wonderful. And I think maybe people are upset that it's not just, pretending to be one long action scene, that there are several action scenes, but there's also, to your point, Chris, a lot of dialogue and a lot of, backstory of these people. And it is, to me, it's more told like a fairy tale, really, with the chapters. It feels like we are opening the book of Furiosa and reading all of these very important facets of her life. Each time we have a chapter, something major happens to her.
And this is, again, Father Malone, we talked about this on every episode other than the first one about Mad Max, this movie has a narrator. Once again, leaning back into the we're telling a story, because some people tend to forget, including our friends over at Red Letter Media, that Fury Road is narrated by fucking Mad Max. That's who narrates that movie. He opens that movie with his narration. So every single one of these movies, other than the first one, which doesn't need narration, is a story, a tale, possibly being passed down. Who knows if they even happen this way? On the last episode, we talked about, the idea of stories being passed down. They tend to be exaggerated and embellished from time to time. Father Malone, you even talked about in the last episode that Fury Road may just be a retelling of Road Warrior from a different group of people who heard about it and are retelling it their way, which, again, given the way that these movies are, including this one, wouldn't put it past them, because George Miller is crafting modern folklore. That's what this is. Of the world he has created, he is now populating it with folklore tales, the same way J.R. Tolkien did with the Silmarillion. The same way, like, this is the ring, but here's all the reasons why the ring is important and how the ring got to being in the hands of Frodo. Has that same feel to it.
Let me double down on my theory that these are two different versions of the same story, both Road Warrior and Fury Road. Near the climax of this film, right after she's lost everything yet again, they cut to the cameo that everyone's heard about in the film, which is Mad Max appears in Furiosa. He's overlooking a bluff, very similar to the one we see him in at the beginning of Fury Road, and he's eating from a dog can, which is very Road Warrior time appropriate. So I maintain once again that Fury Road and the Road Warrior are the same story told by different tribes in the Wasteland.
Interesting. That would also, if we're talking about folk tales and storytelling, that would also help explain away some of the stuff where I was just like, well, that's just a little weird. I mean, I want to just lop off the very end of Furiosa, because I honestly don't think that she immediately took the brides on the war rig. There wasn't even another war rig that was ready. So we just have to say, yes, that was later than what it looks like at the end. The people eater go to Gastown and start to get some really bad gout and everything. His feet looked okay in this one. We have to have apparently the death of Scrotus, unless Scrotus just like moved away, maybe went to like Paris or something. I don't know, but yeah, just like there are things that are inconsistent where if I was really super crazy, and I would be like super upset about this stuff. But then it's like, oh, well, if it's a fairy tale, if it's just a story, well, it doesn't matter if these things don't, add up 100%, that we never saw Corpus Colossus. I was just like, okay, I would kind of like to see him again, but I'm not sure if that actor is even still alive.
Can I speak to I agree with you that cutting scenes from Fury Road into the end of the credits of this movie was a mistake. Like, we don't need it. We know. We just saw it. We're going to go watch it again once we get home. But
which I did.
Right, of course. And but the thing is, there is a passage of time there, because from the time that this story ends, where she joins up with the Citadel again, it has to be the length of the span of a life of a tree, right? That tree had to grow that big to grow fruit. So from that how many years later was it?
True. Very good point.
I mean, probably like 10, 15 years at least, right? Enough for her to age to being Charlize Theron.
Right.
Because that's the other thing. Like, we see her age but that's the other thing, I think. And I think we had maybe talked about it, or I had maybe mentioned it to you, Father Malone, that one of the early things that I had heard about this movie was Anya Taylor-Joy is only in like half of it. And that is actually the case. Anya Taylor-Joy is only in half of the movie. And the child actor that plays young Furiosa, Elila Brown, she's fantastic. She's as good as Anya Taylor-Joy. She carries her part of the movie just as well as Anya Taylor-Joy does. And I think does an even more interesting job, because you're not expecting to spend half of the movie with a young child teenage version of Furiosa, and she's just as interesting.
Yeah, and luckily, even though Furiosa is living in the Wasteland, at least she ages a lot more gracefully than Obi-Wan Kenobi. I mean, to go from Ewan McGregor to Alec Guinness in the span of 20 years, that's some rough living, man. But she stays, pretty clean through those years, and is pretty attractive.
Let me ask you, fellas, were you confused at the switch from when they went from Elila Brown to Anya Taylor-Joy? Like, at a certain point, I was like, wait, what? This is Anya Taylor-Joy now.
Yeah, I wasn't really confused. I think the use of, speaking of trees, because when you said tree, I thought about the first tree that we see growing out of the side of the Citadel. I was like, okay, time is passing. This is probably where we're going to see Anya Taylor-Joy.
So they used CGI to make Lila Brown look more and more like Anya Taylor-Joy until the scene where they switch over.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Which is again, for me, it's like George Miller just thinks of everything. You could have just not, but they make her features look more and more until they just switch over to her. And
wow.
I mean, Anya Taylor-Joy in this movie, her interpretation of Furiosa is great. I think it's a good thing this movie came out when it did. It's not that I wouldn't have wanted to see Charlize Theron, but I think it's good that this movie took a while to come out. The problem, though, I think with any prequel, anything, including this movie, is given that we know where the characters end up, we kind of have to have our stakes readjusted in how we're going to watch this movie, because we know Furiosa not only survives, but goes on to have a complete other adventure in another movie. So the stakes are kind of surrounding all the other periphery characters and the villain who, I mean, this is, I mean, Chris Hemsworth is doing in this movie. He's doing a lot. I like what he's doing. I could totally see someone watching this movie and going, okay, he's kind of just, I don't know, he's being goofy. He's
hamming it up.
He's hamming it up, like the fucking fake nose and everything. It's like, man, I don't know.
Fake teeth, but real abs, I believe.
Real Australian.
Real nipples that get ripped off.
So much nipple work in this movie.
Ooh, yeah.
I should be on a shirt. So much nipple work in this movie. Father Malone.
Oh, it became a bit disturbing at a certain point. I was listening to an Australian podcast. They were talking about Hemsworth's accent in the movie. And they said, this accent doesn't really exist anymore. But during the 70s and 80s, it seemed like everyone was talking this way.
That's interesting.
He seems like from a time and from a place, right?
100%. Yeah. And I love that he's just this kind of little guy who's trying to get in with the big guys. You know, he wants to be there with the bullet farmer. He wants to be there with the people eater. He thinks he's as tough as Immortan Joe. No, that's not how it goes. He's just such a little pissant. He just keeps fucking everything up. I love when his people want to murder him, you know?
Yeah, it's great. Like the way of all tyrants. He's just that fucking pageantry host, like cult leader, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And he's speaking. What's funny is the subtext of the previous film, which is now the next film, is about this power dynamic in the Wasteland, about the haves and the have-nots, and he basically plays on that. He calls down to the war boys like, "Let's all be equals," when he has no intention of being equal to anybody. He's just another fucking scumbag out in the wasteland.
But he's terrible at it, and that's what I love, is that he's just the worst. And I'm not like saying, oh, he's terrible. I mean, he is kind of terrible. He murders Furiosa's mom. He murders Furiosa's lover. But he's terrible, like you both have already said. Like he can't control his own people. He can't keep his own shit together. And by the end of the movie, he gets his entire group killed, himself included, because he's a fucking moron. And I don't think there are enough villains in movies like this that are just inept beyond belief, but we get to see it. Like we get to see that they're inept, and their ineptitude ends up catching up with them at the end of the movie, like big time, obviously. But yeah, he's super inept, which I love.
I'm sure I'm not the first person to put this out there, and it might be canon, it might not be, but the guy with the big horns, who I love his look. It feels like, because at one point he's like, "Oh, you betrayed us." Does his group like break off and become those guys that are protecting the past that Furiosa goes through, that are all on those like mopeds and shit? I mean,
yeah, they were the rogue group, and that sequence is fucking fantastic.
Yes.
But I felt like it was a missed opportunity to have this guy go up against Dementus, you know? That like it made sense absolutely plot-wise and character-wise that they just became a marauding group that no longer wanted to have anything to do with Dementus, but I just figured this guy would figure into the end a little.
Yeah, I kind of wanted him to be part of that revenge that Furiosa gets, like, you know, the enemy of my enemy is my friend type of thing. But yeah, I also love that we get to see Immortan Joe's power. You know, you're talking about cult leaders. It's so Conan the Barbarian, where he just calls up, you know, pick out a war boy. All right, war boy, you know, attack this thing. And he just jumps off. Witness me. It's great.
Yeah, you know, prequels tend to, in my mind, demystify the characters and the situations that we've come to love. In this one, it really solidified them. Like, I really liked Immortan Joe as a character in this one. Like,
Oh, yeah.
Not only in that scene you're describing is a pretty standard Immortan Joe, but the stuff when he's negotiating and saying like, well, who's this girl? Wait, who is this man? The organic mechanic. Okay, well, I'll deal with you because I want these things. Like, we got to see a charismatic side to him, which was unexpected.
Well, and what I also appreciate is because there was nothing in Fury Road, really. I mean, we see him a handful of times. There's room for that in this movie. They're just like, oh, we didn't really do it last movie, so we can here. And it's not, like you said, it just adds to the character. It doesn't really detract because there wasn't much to detract from. He was cool to look at in the last movie, but I mean, again, his presence it wasn't on screen constantly. And I think that works here, that we have so much room to expound upon everything else going on in the world.
Mm-hmm. I really thought that the guy who picked up the Immortan Joe mantle did a really good job, that his eye acting was spot on. Wish his voice would have sounded a little bit more Immortan Joe, but I think also the whole age thing plays into that too. Yeah, I thought that he did a really super job picking up and being Immortan Joe. And I didn't realize, because I want to say the Bullet Farmer is a different person as well.
Oh, same guy.
Same guy? Okay, because I thought they said they had to recast him, and then you come to a character like the Imperator Jack. I mean, this guy just fucking shows up in this movie and owns the movie for like half an hour, maybe. I mean, this guy's I know that I've seen him on screen. I went and looked up his filmography. I'm like, okay, I've seen him around. But the presence that he has in this movie, I'm just like, wow, this guy is like a young Mel Gibson. And he is owning all of these shots. And I love that he's kind of the mentor to Furiosa, and then Furiosa eventually becomes better than him when he's got her driving the rig. I love it.
You mentioned that, like, the set pieces in this movie. The fact that George Miller continues to make chase sequences, and he innovates every single time. Like, when those guys took to the air, I was like, oh, how does this man keep doing this? It's quite insane. Or that the sequence where Furiosa is escaping for the first time on the war rig, where she meets Praetorian Jack and sort of becomes his underling. That whole sequence is fucking fantastic too, with the war boy. Oh my God.
Just the way that they're hanging under those trucks and everything. And I know, I'm glad that they didn't say there's no CG in this movie, everything's practical. I'm glad they're not trying to stand on that hill anymore, because there's a ton of CG going on throughout this, but it looked so terrifying, them under that rig, and just the way that the people are passing under, and when the one guy is about to drop, but he gives her the tube, go ahead, fix the car, we need engine number 2. It's so important that they keep this thing going, and going at ridiculous speeds.
We've kind of alluded to Mad Max not being in this movie, other than the one shot, which, take it or leave it, doesn't add, doesn't detract. I've seen some people be like, oh, I don't need it. Oh, it's perfect. Like, I would concede we have Mad Max 3 different ways in this movie. We have Dementus, who's kind of a shadow Mad Max. We have Furiosa, who's effectively just another character similar to Mad Max, driven by revenge. And then we have Praetorian Jack, who is kind of, again, Mad Max adjacent in terms of like what he's doing, who he is, how he kind of vibes. I mean, Furiosa and Mad Max don't get along. Praetorian Jack and Furiosa actually get along. And I think maybe for the first time since Mad Max, we actually have somewhat of a, not romance, but casual thing going on. I mean, I don't think at any point I'm like, oh, he's going to make it to the final frame of the movie like that. I mean, there's no way, but it's kind of nice to see that, because it's something that's been a little unseen in these movies. And mentioning the thing about the hang gliders, when that happened in that scene, I gave out an audible holy shit in the movie theater, because I was like, okay, right, they're flying things in this universe. Because here's the thing, we hadn't seen them since what? Beyond Thunderdome?
Right.
There weren't any in Fury Road at all.
No, they were using the poles instead, which were an innovation for that movie, and I'm glad they didn't have to rely on that for this one.
Right, but it's like, oh, right, there are people that have, like, flying things in this universe. I forgot about that. I mean, look, still no Bruce Spence in this goddamn movie. We know he's still alive. What the fuck? Missed opportunity. But I had forgotten, since even watching Beyond Thunderdome, that's like, oh yeah, there are people that can fly. So when those people took to the air, it was like, oh, holy shit, okay. But to your point, Father Malone, always innovating. Always innovating.
Yeah, and here's the thing about the cameo that Max gives us. We only get to see him observing her collapsing in the desert, right? And then we just fade out. And then the next thing is her point of view being wakened by these healing women outside the Citadel. Did Max take her there?
Maybe.
Right. Who knows?
Or did he just get back in his car and drive in the other direction? Either is valid.
Max would do either. He has a propensity for both, theoretically.
I did enjoy the moment when she almost got dragged into the underground of the Citadel, and then when she wakes up in the underground of the Citadel with all those maggots. And I was just like, oh, that's cool. They're eating the necrotic tissue. Okay.
When she almost got pulled in initially, I was horrified.
Oh,
I was like, when she got out, I was like, oh my God, thank God he didn't make us go down there. And I keep thinking that throughout the movie, like you mentioned that fantastic opening sequence with her mom, when Mary Jo Bassa gets overwhelmed, like these guys dogpile on her, and then we cut away to Furiosa. I went, thank God we're not going to have to see the results of that. And then the very next scene is she's crucified hanging over a flame. I was like, oh, come on, man.
I don't, it's not that I don't remember, but I feel like this is the most graphic of the Mad Max movies, right?
I felt like it was.
Yeah, I mean, look, Immortan Joe's face gets ripped off at the end of Fury Road, but you don't even really see it. Like, there's a shot, you see it get ripped off, but then we don't have a shot lingering on his, like, noseless, jawless face. We just kind of see Zoe Kravitz kind of looking at it, but he's kind of blocked by the side of the car. This movie, I think, pretty brutal in terms of the violence, but I think it necessitates it as far as like putting Furiosa on the righteous path. You really need to see how fucked up the Wasteland is and how far Dementus is willing to go to try to prove a point or to try to strike fear into people when he's completely inept, which is the case.
I also like the way that he evolves as a character, especially when he gets the flare gun with the red powder and he shoots it in front of him and he gets the red all over him. And then he seems to adopt that as his look, like the red got onto his white parachute cape that he would do, and then kind of gets dirty as well. And then he's got the red in the beard, and he puts the red into Furiosa's hair to make them seem like they're related. I really like how he keeps like adding to his look throughout this whole thing, and he'll have like little trinkets and things, and also just like the way that the vest is covering, but you can see his fucked up nipples after he gets those ripped off in that horrific scene. So, with this spike going through that fucking guy's head. I mean, yeah, there is a lot more gore in this one. I mean, I remember back in Road Warrior when Bruce Spence is watching, I think it's not Wes, but somebody else with a crossbow shoots somebody, and you cut away to him and his eye opening, and you get the reaction instead of the violence. This one is all about the violence.
Yeah, in the very first Mad Max, when Goose is revealed, he's not. It's just Max recoiling in horror. And none of the films up until now had a lead character dragged until he was unconscious behind a car, and then had 3 giant hounds tear him apart while he's still being dragged. It was a nightmare. I wanted to get up and leave the theater at that point.
4 hours. 4 hours.
Hours and hours. Oh my God, they dissolve.
Yeah. It's it's a lot.
The way that George Miller uses that like slightly sped up footage, like he did that a lot in the opening of Fury Road when Max is running away from the War Boys, and in this when Dementus is there and all of his tribe is going around and around, which reminded me of the some of the shenanigans that Humongous's people would get up to in Road Warrior. But yeah, just you can see that slight sped up thing, and I'm like, okay, this works. It would be cheesy in somebody else's hands, I think.
I will say, because we haven't mentioned it, my favorite character in the movie is the war boy with the fucking arrow through his head. He just thinks he's in Valhalla already, which is really the greatest idea in the history of this franchise. Is, all right, so we have characters being promised somewhere, and this guy thinks he's dead. All right, roll with that. And man, what a specific choice, but it kind of pays off because it kind of steals the show in those scenes that he's in early. I guess it's like about halfway through the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I loved that guy. And like, what a quirk that led them to there, This wandering war boy who thinks he's already dead.
I mean, all these like little character roles. I mean, you talked about the truth teller guy. I mean, the guy who looks a little like Mick Fleetwood with one eye and that big fright wig, there's like so many side characters that are just as entertaining. It just, again, to your point of world building, giving us all of these people to think about and to see all of their quirks rather than it just being Dementus and Furiosa and maybe three other characters. No, you get like dozens of characters in this. And even like the little guy who is on the first war rig who wants to start up that machine, which was really fucking cool. I mean, that guy is just like such a distinct choice of an actor. I thought it was fantastic.
Well, we have a lot of the same actors. I mean, Nathan Jones is back as Rictus Erectus. Angus Sampson is back. Josh Hellman, who played Nux's like buddy in Fury Road, is back playing Scrotus. And what's interesting, though George Miller, for whatever reason, has been dragging it recently, Scrotus was in the video game. So technically, this is now all part of the video. The video game's part of this now. Right, Father Malone? Right?
Yeah, 100%. That video game is based, I think, almost entirely on this script, because this script, what Miller said that they wrote Fury Road, and then they were like, well, we need to figure out where Furiosa is from. So then they wrote this, and they went, well, what was Max doing for the year before? And then they wrote another script as he had unproduced to figure out what led Max to Fury Road. So, and evidently, like, Warner Brothers was going to do nothing with the video game until Fury Road became a huge success, and then they put it out. So what we get in both Fury Road and this movie, if you play that game, you're going to get a lot of both.
Yeah, and it's part and parcel of this now. Like, I didn't know, because we talked about it on the Fury Road episode. We were like, oh, you should check it out. Now it's like, it kind of almost becomes like not a necessity, but like there's parts of that part of this movie kind of traffics in, so it feels more important than it did when it came out almost 10 years ago.
I haven't played the game, but I want to say I heard that the guy who gives you that shitty car towards the end is a character from the game. And I love how she steals Scrotus's car. That car is fucking amazing. Just the design of that. And I kind of like that we've got the whole idea of the, all of the ways that people are adapting technology to what they need. So you have like the different flying machines or the different things, like even using a exercise bike to, as a whetstone type of thing. But we didn't get all those double-decker cars that we get in Fury Road. And I was kind of glad that we didn't get that. It feels like that was more of an advancement. So it's kind of the opposite of George Lucas, where you make everything that's really old look gorgeous and beautiful, and the stuff that's new look absolutely shitty. So,
well, and I think it also, because we're seeing different groups of people in the Wasteland. Like this time it's really like motorcycle people, right? Which is again, return to Mad Max 1, really. Like, again, this is about a motorcycle gang, which Chris Hemsworth is the leader of. And I gotta say, the design of his motorcycle chariot is, oh my God, is pretty fucking great. Like, I'd never seen that before. And hats off to George Miller, because now it's like, makes perfect sense. 2 motorcycles with like a chariot on the back. Okay, makes sense. Perfect. Of course, George Miller.
He took that from the stuff that was going on in Australia in the 70s, where it was the motorcycle cops putting on shows, and they made a chariot. So I saw this video, I think it was from Vanity Fair, where he's holding up pictures of this guy on a motorcycle chariot. And he's like, yeah, this was the inspiration right here. And yeah, I had never seen anything like that either. And it is so cool when he's going across the wasteland with his cape blowing and his fucking chariot. It's ridiculous.
He has Miller. I mean, he just keeps making these villains who are fucking fascinating. And even as inept and whatever as Dementus is, like, there's a real character in there. Just like Immortan Joe's got to be a real character in there. Just like Auntie Entity. Just like every fucking villain. He manages to come up with something interesting and a good counterpoint to the hero, as opposed to, as you said, Chris, like the Marvel films where it's just one guy dressed in blue and one guy dressed in green.
Yeah, God, I can't, I would deign to say like, oh, George Miller should be hired by Marvel to do something, but they would never let him do what he wanted because he's too much. I mean, DC couldn't even get a fucking wrangle on him. So yeah, I don't see it happening, but look, I have been watching a lot of movies recently by people like George Miller who have a very specific movie and they're making a specific thing and that's what they're doing. And it's refreshing because not going to say like movies are dead, but talking about at the beginning of this episode, like people aren't going to the theaters anymore. There are plenty of reasons for that. One of them is, constantly being bombarded with the same shit over and over again to the point where it all just becomes noise. And there's no one thing I can point at and say, this is a thing. This is one of the few movies I've seen in theaters in a while where I'm like, this is a thing worth seeing in theaters. You don't need to wait for streaming because shit, Kong versus Godzilla was out a month ago in theaters and it's already on streaming. Fall Guy, not even out a month in theaters and it's already on streaming. There goes the sequel opportunities for that movie. Like, so many things don't need to be seen in theaters. This does. And, I kind of wish it had come out before the pandemic in a way, so it could have been enjoyed the way it probably deserved to be enjoyed, because things coming out in theaters now just aren't being enjoyed the way that they used to, unfortunately. But to your point, Father Malone, like, I'll keep waiting, George Miller, for him to make whatever it is next, because he takes his time and it shows. Everything is well thought out. Everything has a purpose and serves a purpose and has a place and need in the world. It's not just being put there because it looks cool.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's why Furiosa has that mask like Max did. That muzzle, the muzzle returns even, but not in like a remember the muzzle from Fury Road. It's like she's just wearing it. They don't hang a lantern on things like so many other things do. Like, remember the Interceptor, everybody? Here's 20 shots of it so that you can, gaze longingly at this thing you've missed for 20 years. There's none of that in this movie, thankfully.
Once again, as far as defying expectations, this whole movie seems to be leading towards this huge fucking war between Martin Joe and Dementus, and instead we get a montage. And at first I was like, wait, what are you doing now? But then, I should have trusted him because he pays it off in a whole different way. We don't need to see another war boy battle with a war rig versus Dementus and his guys on motorcycles. We've seen that a bunch already in this film.
Right.
It's not part of Furiosa's story.
Run at each other like the 5 armies from The Hobbit.
Oh, remember how good that was?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, just a bunch of CG things just smashing into other CG things.
God, why aren't we getting more of that?
Some of the CG in this movie is quite dodgy, and there are plenty of shots where I was like, oh, why'd you do that? But his adherence to it in this allows a lot more freedom with the camera, like going into the automobiles and pulling out, and when we're in there, like zooming in and out of them. It's pretty fucking great, man.
Are you talking about the end of the movie where they keep zooming in on a very angry Chris Hemsworth at the wheel of his car? Because those shots I want to make that my banner on Facebook. Just angry Chris Hemsworth is grabbing the wheel, because it's amazing. It's CGI, but I don't care. I love when they just come out and go back in and come. It's like, all right, fine, sure. At this point, I don't care. I'll follow you. I will follow you over the cliff, George Miller, as long as it's an entertaining cliff.
Yeah. I even saw that Genie movie that he did in the interim. So that's how much of a George Miller fan I am.
I like that movie.
Yeah, it was pretty nice, right?
I'm sure it was a dream come true for him after Fury Road, and it was just two people talking mainly for 90 minutes.
With tons and tons of CG, but very effective to the story.
I still haven't seen it, but I want to. It's on my long list of things to watch.
Saw it at the theater, and it was gorgeous to look at. So hopefully it holds up on the small screen. I know the Fury Road does. I watch that motherfucker all the time. Still works.
Every one of these movies works as a standalone film. That's an aspect of the whole filmography that doesn't get praise enough. You can show any one of these movies to anybody at any time and they'll get it. And they don't need anything else.
I think this might be the first one though that's like, again, like you don't have to see Fury Road before this. You have to see it after.
Right. Mm-hmm. It enriches your experience of this movie, but this is a story of Furiosa. You get the whole deal.
It recontextualizes it. You might even say, theoretically, you could be like, this might be the one you start with, even at this point. I would actually advocate to watch this before Fury Road. Now, you're right, Father Malone. Like, watch this first, then watch Fury Road. You'll be like fucking amped the fuck up at the end of this movie, and then Fury Road will be like a shot into your fucking veins. Just give me more. Man, can you imagine being that person 10 years from now that watches this, then that, and hasn't seen either? Man, I want to be that person. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Well, we know how good Fury Road is. Like, someone 10 years from now will be like, they're discovering something to be like, oh my God, have you seen Fury Road? It's like, yeah, that movie came out 20 years ago, 30 years ago at this point.
I hope that person has at least one more Mad Max that we haven't seen yet to take.
Oh, yeah.
Well, and that's the question. I mean, so they talk about the 40-day war, and they threw out, and I've seen it, Mad Max the Wasteland being a thing that's maybe coming next. I think in all reality there should be one more, right? Just because like George Miller's not getting any younger, and frankly, at this point, he's 79 years old, and unless they're going to change the way the movies are made, that means George Miller is going to be 80 plus in the Namibian desert shooting a movie. So maybe he's just Australian and built different. That's probably the case. But can you imagine an 85-year-old George Miller making a 6th Mad Max movie in the desert?
Yes.
Yeah, right. That's the problem.
100%. He's gonna be like H.B. Halecki. He's going to die on set.
Yeah. He's going to be wearing those tiny little glasses with the thick lenses and thick frames. And yeah.
Cut, George, right? Right? Oh, he's dead. Oh, never mind. All right. Movie continues, I guess.
Yeah. Lunch, everyone.
Yeah. I mean, look, I think there needs to be one more, but I guess the question becomes, what is that movie?
Well, evidently, it's the year that leads up to Fury Road for Max, which is, again, defy expectations. Here's the weirdest trilogy of all time. Here's one movie and then 2 movies that lead up to that movie.
Yeah. Well, I mean, here you go with Fury Road, where Mad Max is having flashbacks of something we've never seen. That Aboriginal guy, the little girl who wasn't his little kid. I mean, who are these people? I love that we don't know. And it just adds to that richness of that movie. And you know what? If he goes back and shows me that story, I'm not going to be like, why are you doing this to me? I'm going to enjoy the fuck out of it.
Honestly, that's probably the starting place. It makes sense because we talked about it on Fury Road. Like, who is that child that asks for, that gets Max essentially the memory of them to turn around?
Oh, yeah, that's the one we didn't talk about, Chris. She keeps putting her hand to her head, and then at one point Max does that, and it saves his life. So now the ghosts become a little bit more than just figments of his imagination. They're somehow premonitional.
Right. I think, yeah, to your point, that's probably the best way to go. That would be weird to have Fury Road. Well, I mean, Fury Road is so kind of singular. I mean, having everything be around it, leading up to it. Yeah.
I'm fine with it.
Yeah, I don't...
I'm sure Marvel did the same thing at some point. I'm sure that there are movies that are basically prequels to the Avengers that are coming out now, you know. But yeah, I really can't think of anybody else that's doing anything like this other than George Miller.
And has been doing it his entire career. He's going to probably end his career with a Mad Max movie. And he's the only one... Movie. Right. Wait, what?
Or a Babe movie.
Oh, I hope so.
He's due for a third one.
Right. Or Happy Feet 3. Because there's not a third Happy Feet movie. He'll make those three movies, and then he'll make the final Mad Max movie.
There you go.
Let's get him back to the Twilight Zone.
Oh, yeah.
Once more. Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. What's crazy is he's the only one who's directed Mad Max movie. There's no other franchise that has this many movies that have been directed and created by one person. Are there?
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, it's not like he gave the mantle over to some, Brazilian director who had a couple hot horror films.
Wow. Are you talking about something specifically?
No.
or a Russian director with a lot of interesting looking films, or
I was just taking a swipe at the guy who does the Evil Dead movies now, and I don't know where he's from.
So. Fede Alvarez. Yeah.
Is he from Brazil?
He's with a name like Alvarez. I don't know.
It
might be
Spanish. Gotta be good.
Might be Spanish. He's great. I think he's great. But to your point, like, I don't know how a Mad Max movie would play if it wasn't directed by George Miller. I think somebody would. It would be exactly what we're expecting, which is what George Miller is not interested in doing. He defies expectations. Somebody else would just lean on him, a la Ghostbusters Afterlife.
Well, I love that. I mean, there was a whole movement in the 80s and probably into the 90s too, where it was all those knockoff from Italy of basically Road Warrior, a little bit of Escape from New York,
1999.
Yeah, those types of things. And then what comes out and is sitting right next to Furiosa when I'm looking at fmovies.org, Road Wars Max Fury, starring Vernon Wells. So you've got that tie-in from Mad Max 2, and then it's got the whole artwork that looks exactly like the Mad Max series. So they're still cranking them out, man. There are still people that want to make the Road Warrior that never will.
God, what's the name of that studio that used to make all those like faux busters?
Why am I?
The Asylum.
The Asylum.
The Asylum, yeah.
And that's what it is. As you
Of
said
course.
that, I came up and said the Asylum.
Of course. Transmorphers. Snakes on a train.
Also, go to slotlights.net. Win real money.
Boy, if you know, you know. There's only some of us among us who know the truth of slotlights.net. If something like this can't get people into theaters, I don't know what will, really. Like a big budget car chase movie that necessitates a big screen. Like if people aren't going to come out for this, the movie industry is struggling. We know that. I mean, it's obvious. That's why things come out on streaming a month after they're in the theaters, because people just haven't come around to seeing things in theaters. Do I wish this would be the thing that got more people in the theaters? Sure. Is it going to be? Clearly, unfortunately not. The money that this movie has made is not the money it was expecting to make, unfortunately. Which seems like a fucking shame, because that's not a reflection on the quality of the movie at all. Frankly, it means nothing as far as I'm concerned. It's more of an indication of society, not the film itself.
Yeah, it's not like movies don't succeed and then become cult films afterwards or find their audience. This is just the case of that.
Right.
The unfortunate thing is there was so much money involved, and it puts the future of the series in jeopardy. But then the future of the series was always in jeopardy.
Every time. It took so long to even have Fury Road made. Like, Fury Road came out in 2015. It is 2024. This is a rather short period of time between films, given the period of time between Beyond Thunderdome and Fury Road, which was like, 15 years? Something like that?
That's short. It felt like more than that, because, I remember watching Beyond Thunderdome when I was still in high school, I think.
Yeah, it was 87?
Yeah.
Oh, so more than that, yeah.
15, that's,
18
years.
Yes. Yeah. It's crazy. At the end of the day, though, like, even this movie's existence was bandied about for years after Fury Road came out. I am surprised we got to see this movie, that this movie did come out, really.
There was a lawsuit in there, right? That sort of slowed the process of it, because I think they were all ready to go, and then he said, hey, Warner Brothers, where's my Fury Road money?
See, that's the interesting thing, that there's such creative accounting where people can have the number one. Yeah, I love the stories of like James Cameron and just like, oh yeah, here's how much I actually made off of Titanic when the studios made this much money. Okay.
Yeah, you got to get creative with your accounting. That movie lost money, guys. What are you talking about?
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
It's a line item. Batgirl, we lost money on that movie. It never came out. We lost money on it, though, I swear. Speaking of fucking Warner Brothers, Jesus H. Christ.
Yeah, makes it even more remarkable that we got to see this movie. Just deleted right off of a hard drive.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, well, sorry. You don't get to see this movie that people spent time, money, and effort on. Fuck you.
Yeah.
Yeah. But hey, look, at the end of the day, I hope that we get something beyond this. I hope that it does something different than even this movie has. I don't know what that is. Maybe it has nothing to do with Mad Max or Furiosa. I can't imagine that's going to be the case. Maybe it's I don't even think it needs to be a Mad Max movie. At this point, like, isn't, Mad Max is kind of not necessarily important to the story unless, I don't know. I think that's a good spot to ask the question, because I think we talked a little bit about it at the end of Fury Road. If you were to pick where this went, where would you want it to go?
I want more Mad Max.
The character, you mean?
Yeah. I'm totally comfortable with any of these characters. They're all so rich. These worlds are so fantastic. If he wants to start anew and tell us what's going on the coast of Australia and pick a hero for that region, I'm totally cool with it. Really, I want more Mad Max. We got one Tom Hardy movie. Give me at least one more.
Oh, yeah. Like an actual proper
Mad Max.
Tom Hardy as Mad Max.
Yeah, because he's a minor character in this particular saga, but I want to know his story.
Yeah. Yeah. What about you, Mike White?
I'm right there with Father Malone. Yeah, that's what I'd like to see. I really liked so much of what Tom Hardy was doing. Just those little things, like that little thumbs up thing that he gives before one of the brides bites it, or the whole "that's bait" thing. Just those little movements that he was doing. Even when he's talking about going back through the wasteland and he's using his hands in all these interesting ways. I really like what he was doing with that character, and I'd really like to see him explore that some more. And again, I don't care if it's not true to the first three movies, because the first three movies really weren't true to the first three movies. You know, they went in radical directions. So please, Tom Hardy, continue to take me in a new direction. I am there with you, sir.
And I think, and we talked a little bit about this on the Fury Road episode, but I think it bears repeating. I have also come around a lot on Tom Hardy in the subsequent decade since Fury Road came out, because again, right around that time was the Bane times of Tom Hardy, which for a lot of us was not, it wasn't necessarily the first introduction, but it's definitely the biggest introduction for a lot of people. And his character of Mad Max, I'd like to spend more time with him because it's an interpretation that is different and kind of sadder than Mel Gibson's, which I think is interesting because we never really, I mean, Mad Max as Mel Gibson is kind of a cipher, and Tom Hardy doesn't seem as much of a cipher. He's clearly more haunted, and he lets those haunted things get to him, which is an interesting aspect of the character that, yeah, I'm with you guys. If we got that cool, I mean, Tom Hardy at this point, big enough, massive enough star that it's like, you want to be the lead and actually lead the whole thing? I can't imagine he would say no, as long as, well, that's the thing. I wasn't aware that him and Charlize Theron didn't get along.
No,
apparently.
Same. I haven't listened to that audiobook about the making of the whole Quintology. But yeah, I didn't know that either. I had just started hearing those stories this week. I guess it's because of the new movie coming out.
Kudos to George Miller for keeping it. Apparently, a great films don't necessarily come out of the leads fucking hating one another. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. But
those characters were tense anyway. It worked for the movie.
Yeah. Overall. Well, that was the thing I read. It was like maybe
had a tough time in the Namibian desert making a fucking masterpiece with George Miller.
Well, that was the thing I read. It was like, well, maybe Tom Hardy was just method acting the relationship with her too. And it was like,
sure he was. I'm sure it was 100% instigation on his part.
Tom Hardy, I mean, he's a method actor. We kind of know that. He's maybe not as method as Jared Leto. And I'm not saying right. We don't all need to have condoms sent to us by our co-stars, for fuck's sake. But I would watch another Tom Hardy. I would watch a Tom Hardy Mad Max movie because we really haven't had. I mean,
we deserve one at least.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that is a question when it comes to these movies, and maybe a good place to stop. But when it comes to Fury Road, I think it's Furiosa's movie. When it comes to Furiosa, is it her movie or is it somebody else's movie?
Oh, no, I think it's Furiosa's. I mean, it's her tale beginning to end. We get a lot of interesting, side missions we certainly get more of the what's going on as far as who holds power in this universe, but it's like the previous Max trilogy. It's about that person wending their way through it.
I would say if Mad Max Fury Road is a Furiosa movie with Mad Max in it, I would say, yeah, Furiosa is a Furiosa movie, but I think Chris Hemsworth is in this movie a lot as well, and you could make a case. I might even make the case that it is kind of a shared movie because their paths interweave in and out of the movie so much. I mean, there is a stretch of film where he's not in it, and it doesn't necessarily drag, but his presence is missed. But at the same time, he is also, I could see in a less aptly handled version of this movie how he could be fucking grating and obnoxious to the point of he's not only distracting, but he's actively causing me to dislike this movie in a way that sometimes characters that are big, the way his character is big, can get in the way for some people. I look at something like The Fifth Element with Chris Tucker. He in that movie gets in the way of my enjoyment of that movie, and I know that, and I can admit it. He's such a big character, and he's so specific. But I kind of see the same thing with Chris Hemsworth. You might find him to be objectionably obnoxious and kind of ridiculous with the fake nose and the really put on accent, but I think he's great, and I think it's not as much his movie as Furiosa's, but he is a big part of this movie, and there is a reason he is on the poster as big as he is with her, because he's behind her on the one-sheeter. I mean, his presence is made very clear on that poster.
Yeah, he's kind of her Joker, you made me, I made you type of thing, because, yeah, he's there from the beginning. He's the one that murders her mother. He's the one that takes her in and carts her around all over the place. I mean, it's almost a fatherly relationship when he claims that he's her father. It's you could kind of make a case he's been watching over you all this time.
Also do.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. He's I mean, again, this is his I think one of the best things I've seen Chris Hemsworth in. He's really great in this movie. And I think it's like you mentioned, Father Malone, he is a fully realized villain in a way that George Miller kind of seems to really excel at, which is giving us someone who's bizarre and then really expounding on the bizarreness and giving us more to it, not just so many cult of cool things that we're used to, like a Boba Fett who everybody glommed onto him for 20 years. And it's just like, he just looks cool. Like Lord Humongous looked cool in Road Warrior, but there was also something to him. He opens that box with the gun and there's all that stuff in the box. So you get a sense of where his character is coming from, or at least you can jump to some conclusions and fill in the blanks yourself. And that's George Miller. I think the success of him is he treats the audience not like fucking morons, which is he's never treated the audience like morons. I don't think, at least in the things that I've seen that he's done. And that is something we should not be taking for granted in this day and age where the audience is treated like fucking idiots more or less all the time. Like the idea of presenting the audience something without telling them but showing them in the filmic language of imagery is not something that most directors are doing anymore, at least not in the studio system. This is a goddamn studio film, which is probably the craziest part, is that this is a studio film being made like this, just like Fury Road. A studio film being made this way, you got to be kidding. In 2024, when everybody's so cynical about the way films are made and they can still make something like this, still ekes through the cracks of the Marvel, green screen, everything on a CGI set. Come on.
Oh, God. Can you imagine, like, all of these things being done against green screen, just getting the behind the scenes of every single war boy fighting in front of a green screen? Oh, that would just tear my heart out to see something like that.
Like House of the Dragon, they're like, we have this really great set. I mean, yeah, it looks great, but like, don't show me behind the scenes because it's just a bunch of people standing on like some pieces of rock. This is not compelling by any stretch of the imagination.
Well, even the CG stuff that he employs here, I think, is just adds to the overall experience. I'm thinking specifically when Praetorian Jack and Furiosa are making their run for it after that fucking fantastic ambush at Bullet Town. Or was it Gas? Oh, it was Bullet Town. Yeah,
it was Bullet Town. Yeah. I think I misspoke earlier and I called it Gas Town.
Well, we get two. I mean, we get to go in both of them in this movie, don't we? Like, which again, just the world building of it all. Like, I just love every one of the environments we go into. There's a sequence where Furiosa basically gets promoted to the garage that takes place in the Citadel during a dust storm, and it's all empty and scary and wild. It's unlike any scene in Fury Road. Like it is quiet and yet still menacing, and just I don't know. I'm gushing about the movie. I felt transported every time George Miller wanted to give us a new place, that we were in that place, and the amount of CG did not bother me at all. And the scene I was talking about where they're driving away, where they skirt around this basically mountain of sand that Dementus just goes right over. But watching them wend their way around in that environment when they're driving over there's canyons that they can fall into. I'm sure that's all CGI. Didn't care. Just added to the goddamn movie. I don't know what people's hang up is.
They want MCU stuff, man. I guess. I don't know what people want anymore. Like, I don't get it. Like, if this isn't entertaining for you, what the fuck do you want? Like, I genuinely, like, this movie's entertaining up and down. Like, yes, it's a little slower than Fury Road, but also if you've never seen Fury Road, this movie is still jam-packed with action. But Fury Road is such its own thing that again, the worst thing about this movie is that Fury Road existed before it. That's it. Like, in so many cases of, like, The Godfather 1 and then The Godfather 2. Look, The Godfather 2, for many people, is as good of a movie as Godfather 1. I think this movie is as good of a movie in Fury Road in many ways, but Fury Road is so singular in what it's trying to do, it's kind of hard, if not impossible, to do that again. Also, why would anyone do that again?
Well, that's what I'm curious about. I mean, they didn't do Furiosa before Fury Road. Could they have done that? Or would people have just rejected the movie out of hand because it was a female-led action film, which seems like box office poison? Or is that what's happening right now? You know, we talked about how few people are in the theater. Is it just a general malaise? Or, people are rushing out to see fucking Garfield and If and all these horseshit movies?
Whoa, now, you just attacked Chris Pratt voicing a cat? How dare you? Our our actual cinema living actor. He's a legend of voice acting, Chris Pratt.
He's such a good actor. He doesn't even like lasagna.
Wow. He's never even played Super Mario Brothers. He didn't even know it was a video game until his child told him about it while he was filming the movie. Oh, wait, that was Bob Hoskins. I don't know what people want anymore. I may have said this when we were talking Mad Max on one of the other episodes, Father Malone, but I don't think people that are younger than me go to these. Like, I think people consume content differently now. And I think that it's hard to hold people's attention span. And that's not me being cynical. It's me just looking at the way content is consumed en masse. I mean, TikTok is not that long for a reason. It's the dopamine rush of being able to watch 100 different things in 5 minutes because you're just flipping through them. I get it. Look, I'm still the guy who will watch a 7-hour video on YouTube explaining a movie or going in depth on a movie. I will watch that, but I can't speak for everybody. And I can't speak for anybody even being bothered to sit through a 2-hour movie, let alone a 90-minute movie without fucking around on their phone, fucking off to do something else. And look, that's the benefit of having access to everything on our phones and TVs is we can do that. But also it has, in general, diminished the movie-going experience at large. And that's been going on since before the pandemic. It will continue in perpetuum because we now can watch fucking Citizen Kane on our iPhones. Okay, like when that movie came out, people didn't think they'd be able to see it at home, let alone on their phones while they're taking a shit at work. So I just think the industry will never catch up to the way people want to watch things because the industry likes to make money, and it's hard to make money the way people are consuming things now.
Chris, I remember when you told me that you hadn't seen Citizen Kane, but now I'm so glad that I can picture how you watched it.
Yeah. I actually watched it in 30-second increments. On TikTok. That's what I did. And YouTube
as
Shorts.
They intended.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, it's clearly. I mean, Mankiewicz wrote that script and was like, I can't wait for someone to watch it in 45-second clips. They'll really get what I was going for.
Just wait till that cockatoo comes up.
Whew. God. Anything else we want to talk about with Furiosa?
Nope.
Kick it to you first, Mike. Final thoughts on Furiosa, a Mad Max Saga.
I was a little on the fence when I saw this yesterday. I have to tell you, 2 days ago, and I'm glad that I had time to think about it and sit with it and just I went through and I watched 2, 3, and 4 and sat with 5 some more. And yeah, you've heard on this conversation, I'm pretty sold on 5 now. So I'm right there with you as far as I really am a Furiosa fan.
I guess the thing we didn't get to ask Mike before I asked Father Malone, have you changed your opinion on Thunderdome or do you still hate it?
Well, actually, I was really happy watching it yesterday because, or 2 days ago, yesterday, because I left right before the kid part and then I went downstairs and did some laundry. So I saw the movie that I wanted to see. I didn't really need to see anything else after that.
That's unfair. I'm a big fan of that movie, so.
I'm a big fan of half of that movie.
Ultimately, I'm a big fan of each of the Mad Max movies. I think they're all of a piece. They're all, they connect and they don't simultaneously. And I think they're equal adventures, depending on where you feel like spending time with Max or lack thereof. There's something for everybody in the series.
Final thoughts on Furiosa, Father Malone?
A worthy successor / prequel, I guess. I, as a rule, just can't fucking stand prequels, and was when they announced that they were immediately doing this after Fury Road, I was like, really? Do we need to go there? I'm glad we went there. Again, expectation-defying George Miller just keeps knocking it out of the park no matter what he does in this universe, as far as I'm concerned. And I, again, saw this movie twice, very happily. And gonna watch it again. And I would suggest everyone go see it in the theater if you can, just to vote with your bucks so we can continue this wasteland.
Yeah, no, I echo both of y'all. I think for me, Fury Road is obviously so its own thing, but I think this is its own thing as well. And it kind of mixes and matches things that we've seen, but in a different and unique way, and adds some things to the story that I think are needed, which is a pivot to another character, a pivot to a female character, a pivot to a genuinely interesting and well-acted female character across both films, both interpretations. And like you both have already alluded to, George Miller is one of the few directors who I kind of trust whatever he does, period. And I think that has evidence to back it up. Looking at his filmography, I have more or less seen everything but that film from 2022. And all those movies are varying degrees of fantastic, or at least interesting. And that includes Babe, Pig in the City, which is nothing like Babe, which he did not direct Babe, everybody. He only wrote and produced it.
My bad.
But no, I'm not. That wasn't in reference to you. It's in reference to most people on the internet just going, the guy who directed Babe. And it's like, no, the guy who directed the crazy Babe movie where he's in the city and there's Babe, Pig in the City is a talk about subversive and subverting expectations.
Yes.
Yeah. For that to be a sequel to the James Cromwell sheep herding movie, it's pretty crazy. But similarly to this, for this to be a sequel to Fury Road and it just being like, nope, we're not going to up the ante. We're going to kind of pull back a little bit and do something a little different, but still have what you were expecting in there and it still work and be just as compelling. I think, yeah, George Miller is a seminal filmmaker, and when he is gone, the world will be a lesser place for it. But until then, I hope he wants to work until he's 90 in the desert, because that's what he's looking at, and that's what I'm hoping. So, yeah, that's my final thoughts on Mad Max. So until the three of us do something again, crossover, who knows, maybe another big movie coming out this summer, where can people find you and the things that you work on, Father Malone?
I would head over to weirdingwaymedia.com, where I have a few shows on there, like Dark Destinations, it's a radio drama I write and produce, or Midnight Viewing, the horror anthology podcast, co-hosting you two fellas, or Midnight Viewing Anthologies Attack, where co-host Antonio Lapore and I take a look at anthologies of every genre and media.
What about you, Mike White?
Pretty much the same thing, other than all those shows. But yeah, come on over to weirdingwaymedia.com, where you can hear me shoot off my mouth about all kinds of things, including Columbo and Barney Miller and a lot else. And how about you, Chris?
I would say the same thing, Weirding Way Media, all things but one thing, which is Rankin on Bond, which can be found on yours and my Patreons, respectively. That's patreon.com/Kulturecast or Projection Booth. And if you're a fan of action movies, you probably want to hear what we have to say about James Bond, one of the action franchises. So Mike White and I, along with our friend Richard Haddam, and soon Father Malone will be joining us to sit down and talk about James Bond once a month. And we're still at the very early days of James Bond, so you have plenty of time to get in and not feel like you missed too much. So yeah, those are the places you can find me as well.
Cool. Well, thank you so much, guys. It's been great talking with you, and be sure, like Chris said, to come on over to our Patreons and make a donation, because every donation made helps the Projection Booth take over the world.